Hello, my
Hi,
name is
Stacey.
Stacey Mankoff. I'm the managing principal of the Mankoff Company and the founder of After the Bell events. And I'm delighted to welcome you all to another edition of the Bellringer. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce John Karantonis, who is the president and co-founder of iBlockchain Bank and Trust Technologies and the co-founder and CEO of GeoPay.me, which develops and applies solutions for consumer adoption and merchant acceptance of cryptocurrencies and digital assets. And today we're going to be discussing how building a blockchain identity. So first, I'd like to welcome you, John.
Well, hi, Stacey. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Terrific. Is there anything you wanted to add to the intro?
No, I think that was fine. I appreciate it.
Terrific. Terrific. Um, anyway, first, one of the first things I'd like to ask you is how do you begin this? And how does building blockchain identity differ from developing any other business identity?
That's a great question. So, just to answer the first part, the way
Mhm.
we got into this sort of industry was initially looking at the changes in the fintech space, and we began developing a cashless hub, kind of similar to PayPal, with a few more bells and whistles. But as soon as we began to understand crypto and more so the underlying blockchain technology, specifically with the advent of Ethereum, because Ethereum is a very different, um, it's orders of magnitude in difference from just a distributed spreadsheet, in other words, which
Mhm.
is a basic blockchain. Well, now you have virtual machine that you can build services and applications on top of that ledger. So we began to rethink our approach, and while it hasn't changed dramatically, in the sense that we're still focused on servicing merchants. What has changed is the whole concept of how do you build a closed ecosystem that's really about developing a digital company, right? A digital corporation. So we see it as a way of digitizing every aspect of a business from the company structure, the registration, the cap table, the brand, the governance of the equity. So we look at how do you build an alternative trade system to support the entire corporation within a closed ecosystem, and help that merchant to better manage their equity and their brand, because the two are very interrelated,
Mhm.
the way we see it.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
we know that the economies have been evolving in terms of smarter digital ecosystems. Blockchain is the next evolution of that. So unifying these aspects of the digital business and helping the merchant or the small business onboard into a system that uh, can bring their brand identity to the blockchain, which means you now have the ability to etch permanently that brand uh, and associate that with the chain of custody of everything I mentioned prior to this, which was the company structure, the cap table, the common shares and how they're tokenized, and the brand management, which includes tokenization of their uh, rewards and discounts,
Mhm.
merchant credits,
Mhm.
because we see that as a very important process for merchants. I don't want to jump too far ahead. I don't know if I answered your question. Did I answer your question?
No. This is a discussion, so we want to keep it going. So I have a question. When you're talking about companies that you're working with, what sort of industries are you partnering with?
So we're partnering with a number of different industries, from
Mhm.
consumer packaged goods to
Mhm.
emerging media networks to fast casual dining businesses.
Mhm.
For example, one consumer packaged good business that we're partnering with is a new kind of fragrance company.
Mhm.
And again, it's this idea of how do you apply the tokenized rewards and a tokenized reward system for clearing within that ecosystem to their marketing efforts. Because the thing that they're having a problem understanding is really what does blockchain really help them do?
Right.
We try to educate them that it's a tool really for brand identity and brand management as much as it is a tool for transactions and payments, and the idea of extending the brand, okay, and extending that brand to utility tokens and rewards is a big step for customers. So the first step in what we do is really just, in the discovery process, try to understand their business model, and then try to educate them on how to apply blockchain and whether or not their business model could actually apply within the IBBT ecosystem. Because again, it's a closed ecosystem that we're talking about.
Right. Well, what is the major advantage? If I'm a small business and I'm thinking about going on the blockchain, what are some of the advantages I have if I do that?
Well, okay, again, blockchain is not really a panacea for all businesses, but some of the key advantages you have as far as being a small business, and we're looking at businesses that are going online. For example, there's over 8 million WordPress businesses, and there are a lot of traditional brick and mortar retail businesses or omni-channel businesses that are now more and more just really focusing on their online business.
I think that especially in this time right now, I think quite a few businesses are re-examining migrating to a more online presence.
Absolutely, absolutely, and so with blockchain now you have the enablement of identity, the enablement of putting that brand and that brand's provenance on the blockchain. In other words, a brand is a promise to the consumer, but it's also about the quality, where that product was produced, who produced it. And so that's part of the blockchain identity of the brand. Okay. We know that branding is very important. It's, intangible assets are becoming more and more important to all companies, so without a brand, you can't really differentiate, and you can't really generate consumer demand, and you can't really generate repeat revenues. And obviously, as I said before, one of the key ways that companies do that is through loyalty and rewards. It's a way to create a stickier brand, and we're just translating that into a new type of system that allows us to better manage the brand equity as it relates to the financial performance of that company through the token. Okay, because it's all within a unified system.
So you would really be able to see the rewards of the brand identity, it sounds, more clearly by utilizing a blockchain application.
Yes, well, we one of the first things we help to do once we've formed an agreement with our client is to basically issue their tokens. Okay, so there's a procedure for creating the tokens and the governance of that token. But what's unique about the IBBT tokens is that, again, we know they're an ERC20 Ethereum contract, but they operate in conjunction with the merchant use case. They're there to enable the liquidity. They're there to be used as a marketing. So we're using, the merchant is using their marketing dollars towards and applying it towards the discount or the reward, and that's being cycled by the use of the token. So it's keeping that marketing spend, it's helping them boost their marketing, but it's keeping the marketing spend and the frequency within the network, or the liquidity within the network. So again, I apologize, I'm jumping around a little bit here because
no. I'm
an extremely simple thing to explain, but
no, it's not. And I guess another thing is, you mentioned that the blockchain is not the solution for all businesses. So how do you assess as a business whether or not the blockchain would be something that you should utilize, or if it isn't for you?
Well, the client needs to understand that they need to be involved in developing the program. They need to be willing. They need to be mostly willing and capable of participating in the program. Because we do a lot. Once the token is established, we help to We also create a website for that token, which is on a blockchain DNS.
Right. But I would say not just with you specifically, but in general, if I'm a business, how do I know whether or not the a blockchain application in general is right for me?
If you're a business, well,
or it could be all business, but I'm just curious, like what your thoughts are on that. Is the you had mentioned that the blockchain may not be the be all solution to everything. So, how do I assess that? What is it costly? Is it not costly? Things of that nature.
Well, there's definitely costs associated with, operating on the blockchain, specifically with Ethereum, because every transaction involves a gas fee. But we have a process for mitigating that and for, making the value proposition for the customer acceptable. And really, there's not an easy way to answer that question, because it all depends on what the client is trying to achieve with their brand. I mean, we know that, as I said before, a brand is key to is key to growth. It's key to attracting customers and creating customer demand. So they need to be prepared to look at this as an extension of their digital evolution or their digital transformation.
Or footprint.
We help them understand what all of those pillars really are.
Right. So are there more industries? I mean, you mentioned the consumer product, like you have a perfume company. Are there more industries that are more amenable to going on the blockchain, that you see a move, whether it's manufacturing, transport, packaging, where do you see a growth area for this?
I think the kinds of businesses that are more amenable, I don't know that you can actually say that there are businesses that are not amenable to it. It's really about whether or not that business wants to or sees the value of a digital transformation for their entire business. In other words, a better way to issue and manage their equity, because we have a process for, as a fiduciary custodian within the alternative, what we call an alternative trade platform, or this ecosystem that we're developing. We're also operating as a fiduciary custodian of their equity. So we take the traditional common stock, the paper stock, convert it to electronic PDF form, because that's legal in almost every state in the union. And then there's a procedure that we take from there to tokenize the security and manage it within a smart contract, governance of a smart contract, which we call a DAC. So in that sense, we're helping, like I said earlier, to really digitally transform that company in a way that hasn't been done before, but in a way that's still within the regulatory framework.
Sure. Okay. Now, speaking of regulatory, do you see changes coming? Do you see, are there issues with the regulations that you're seeing that will be ameliorated perhaps in the next administration? And what's your look into the future in regards to this building more small businesses on the blockchain?
Well, as far as the regulatory aspects, it's hard to say. I mean, there's a blockchain caucus, and there's a number of Congress people that are involved and very proactive and advocates of blockchain technology. And we're seeing, we are seeing some legislation. So I guess overall that's a good thing. From our point of view, we think you can still operate under the existing framework. And that's really what we're attempting to showcase in terms of how we're operating. But it's really hard to predict at what point I don't really believe that major altercations in the regulatory framework are required. the regulatory framework has evolved over many decades, and it's there for a reason, and it moves slow for a reason. So I understand that, but certainly no one can deny that digital transformations impacted every company and every industry, every government entity. So this is just an evolution, and blockchain is just the next evolution of that. And so, like I said earlier, we're initially focused on helping the merchant, the brand merchant, drive more consumer loyalty to their brand and to their goods and services, by making it easier for the consumer to use the token as a discount, as a reward, or as a way of accessing the merchants or the product's app. And so we help in that whole process. And I know that some of the nomenclature is not really easy to put in simple terms, but I'm doing my best to explain it.
No, you did it. You've done a great job, John. I really appreciate your input on this.
Oh no, I appreciate your questions.
And I think it'll lead for more discussion in the future. Thank you so much. And I hope to have you on a future panel in real life in the future.
Thank you, Stacey. Have a great Thanksgiving.
You
and
too.
Be safe. Thank you.
You too. Bye.